Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden, and I bring you, again, unfortunate news on the police brutality front. Kind of twofold bad news. There's been another shooting. Now, this shooting happened on March 29th, but the body cam footage of the police officer who shot the individual was just released. So this was a young man. He was 13 years old, and his name was Adam Toledo, and he was chased down an alley by a police officer in the Chicago suburbs on March 29th, and I believe the police were called there because there were shots fired, but the cop clearly chased him down the alleyway. He fled, and when the cop told him to stop, he turned around and raised his hands, and the cop shot him right in the chest. There was nothing in his hands, and the kid looks like he weighs about 100 pounds. So I don't know. I mean, the police come up with every excuse in the book, don't they? It's, she thought she was going for her taser, not her gun. Or, the officer that shot Tamir Rice feared for his life because he had a toy gun. This guy doesn't have anything in his hands. Adam Toledo doesn't have anything in his hands. He fled, but he turned around. He wasn't resisting arrest. Even George Floyd was resisting arrest. So I wonder what kind of bullshit excuse they're going to have for this. He was 13, 100 pounds soaking wet, but I imagine the police officer will say that he feared for his life, as they always do. Like I said, it's the it's coming right for us excuse. They always fear for their life. If you yell, it's coming right for us, right before you gun down some poor minority unarmed kid, then you're going to get off scot-free in this country as a police officer. Okay, second part of the bad news, and this isn't nearly as bad news. Derek Chauvin has pleaded the fifth, and the trial is all but over. So we'll know pretty soon what's going to happen with Derek Chauvin. Pleading the fifth means that you do not have to testify in your own defense if you don't want to, because you might self-incriminate too much. I worried that this would happen, and I thought it probably would, because Derek Chauvin, if he took the stand, would get absolutely eviscerated by the prosecution. And generally, if you've ever heard the term, I plead the fifth in normal conversation, that's what they're talking about. And it refers to, in normal conversation when somebody accuses you or hints that maybe you're up to no good and that you should explain yourself, and you just say, I plead the fifth on that one. Pleading the fifth means that you don't want to say anything because you're going to get nailed if you actually speak. So it is an indication of sorts that, they know that there's an abundance of evidence that Chauvin had malicious intent and killed George Floyd on purpose. And putting him on the stand would only, I think, show that he absolutely did. And he knows it too, so he doesn't want to take the stand. He's pleading the fifth. That's kind of what I expected to happen. I was hoping that it wouldn't, because I would have loved to have seen him go up there and try to defend himself. But it's an admission of sorts in my mind. People that have good defenses of what they did don't plead the fifth, because otherwise they defend themselves. So this is horrible news. I feel horrible for the parents and the family of Adam Toledo. And to bring this full circle, I think that one of these shootings, if we don't get this under control, man, if, say, Chauvin goes free or doesn't get second-degree murder, and we have had all these slew of shootings going up to that to me is like in the movies where you see the powder keg that gets the fuse lit that's 20 feet long, and whoever's chasing the fuse trying to put it out or pull it out of the keg has to get there before it burns down and hits the powder keg and blows up the room. That's kind of what I see this as right now, guys. The fuse is lit, and Daunte Wright got killed a couple days ago. Now the body cam footage comes up for a killing that was 2 weeks ago for Adam Toledo. And, I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse. So the George Floyd thing going on while this is all happening is, to me, it's a fuse leading up to a powder keg. And if they don't defund the police soon, the Black Lives Matter movement this summer is going to explode in a way that is not going to be good. I mean, it's going to be a lot of protesting, but there's going to be a lot of riots. If you guys remember correctly, the Civil Rights Act didn't pass until MLK was assassinated, and then there were riots for 2 straight weeks after that where the country was in flames, and then Congress finally started to or finally passed the Civil Rights Act. So it took him dying and a bunch of riots and a bunch of people actually getting together to flex their muscle as one for us to get anything done legislatively. And seeing as this stuff is not helping, and all that bullshit kneeling and the kente cloth stuff that all the Congress did with Nancy Pelosi and her orange fucking stupid ass cloth that she had over her neck didn't help shit. It was all symbolic. We all knew it was all symbolic, and you have to actually do something. Otherwise, everything's coming to a fever pitch, guys. In the next couple of weeks, if Chauvin, especially if Chauvin goes free here, look out. And I don't want that to happen, but I understand why it will. And of course, I'm not going to poo-poo the efficacy of protests and, yes, of riots. And it's like they're asking for it. If the police don't know any better by now, seeing all the bad press that they get when they pull the trigger aiming at some young kid at work, they're not going to learn. And methinks it's because they don't want to learn, because there's some racism built into the system. A lot of these police officers are unfortunately racist. So take it for what it's worth, guys. I wish I had better news for you. I'll put a link to the body cam footage down below. And hopefully Derek Chauvin goes to prison for a very long time. We'll know pretty soon. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys.